gets on the road well, doesn't it? You enjoying that, Stu?
I am. The P1800 is not a car that I'd ever paid much attention to, because when I think of 60s era sports cars, Volvo does not spring to my mind. But at the end of the day, this was a sweet little coupe, and I was really impressed by it, particularly the overall quality. At age 60, one of those cars that has handled its age very well. To Michael, she's Grace Kelly, but I think of her more as Patsy, showing her age but still looking great.
It's incredible, isn't it? First car that had the seatbelts fitted as standard.
1964. Go Volvo. We're at the Young car wash.
The best car wash in Young.
Really? Is it the only car wash in
It
Young?
is the only car wash in Young,
But it's still, that doesn't take away from its bestness.
that's correct. Don't drive dirty.
And we're not going to.
We're not going to. We're going to be spotlessly clean.
Is this good for the car?
So the first pass that went around was highly acidic water. The next two passes are highly alkaline. So what you're seeing there, it looks like it's detergent. It's actually just a surfactant. So when the water goes to wash off, it takes the dirt away with it down into the recycling system.
Without brushes?
Without brushes. Doesn't hurt the paint.
How good is that?
Fantastic. So easy.
Do you know the owner?
I do know the owner, yes.
Is that you, is it?
That is me, yes.
And you thought you weren't going to get an ad?
That's right. Here comes the water. Here we go.
Oh, yeah.
Yes.
Oh, yeah, a little bit.
Up the top. It is, have a look. Yeah.
Disco lighting in the car wash.
So we keep the customers, amused while they're here. Now this is the all-important one, Stewie. This is the spot-free rinse.
Oh.
It just leaves us with pure water.
Okay.
So you have none of those little calciline spots left on your car. Here we go.
That was quick. And we're off. Volvo P1800. Simon Templar, the Saint, for those that are old enough to remember it. It's a TV series.
Simon Templar.
This car was this kind of star. And they had shot an awful lot of shots, like these shots you're watching right now, of Roger Moore.
Did you know that was Roger's own personal car? And do you know that they actually wanted him to drive an E-type Jaguar? He said, no, I prefer to drive my own car, thank you.
And Volvo said, thank you very much for making our car famous. Like so many of the shows from that era, so corny.
Yes, that's right.
And the car chase scenes like this, you can see how they're sped up 3 times. They just drive normally, so all the people they're passing are also driving at twice normal speed,
Barbara, I want you to go to my flat and wait. Don't let anybody in except me, understand?
The predecessor car to this was the P1900.
I know.
You heard about that? Do you know how many of those they sold
No, how many?
in total? 68.
It was the ugliest car.
Was it?
It was.
Well, that would explain it.
Now, the guy that drew this car originally on the drawing board was Pelle Patterson.
Pettersson.
My name is Pelle Pettersson, and more than 60 years ago, in 1957, I designed this car, the Volvo P1800.
Front engine, rear-wheel drive, classic layout.
Conventional 4-speed gearbox with an electric 5th speed.
Ooh, electric overdrive.
Electric overdrive. I'll show you the overdrive.
Kind of like an MGB.
Here we go.
Yeah.
Got a little indicator light comes on here to tell us it is a lovely shade of magenta.
Magenta, yeah.
Yes. The original engine was going to be a 3.6 litre V8.
Wow.
But when they fitted it, it was too heavy for the front of the little P1800. So they decided, well, we'll just cut that in half and make it a 1.8. Yeah. They did keep the crankshaft, which is a 5-bearing main crank on a 4-cylinder engine.
Yep.
So it has a tremendous amount of bearing surface area, being a crankshaft that was designed for a V8.
Okay.
And hence you can rev it and rev it and rev it, and they just never ever give any problems at all. This one does have, like the MGB, it has twin SU carbies fitted factory standard.
But these are bigger. They look like 1 3/4 inch SUs to me, not 1.5s.
Yes, and this particular engine has the D-cam fitted to it, which gives it a little bit more performance. Gives it about 130 brake horsepower. It's one of the only ones in Australia with it come to be fully imported with a limited slip diff. There's quite a few different versions in this one.
Are there?
In this, yeah. So this particular one has the mustache-shaped front bumper bar.
Oh, yeah.
The later model ones, the fuel-injected motors, they had a different dash. It's a plasticky 70s looking dash, which is
okay.
it's not the
This has got heaps of metal on it. I
lovely
love that.
anodized aluminium dash.
Yeah.
The vertical gauges for the oil temp and the water temp.
Yep. Now the radio, it looks like a retrofit,
It's a retrofit, yes.
but it does fit the style.
It goes quite well, yeah. Bluetoothed. Well, this one also has standard power boosted front disc brakes.
Drums at the rear.
Drums at the rear. Steering's excellent.
For a 1964 car, it drives very nicely on the road.
It's a beautiful car on the road.
Suspension is original?
Original, yeah. No, it's not a modified suspension. That's just how it was.
So this is a P1800S?
There's a P1800S. So this one was made in Sweden, and so they had the bodies pressed in England.
Okay.
And Volvo were unhappy with the finish build quality, so they took over themselves. A guy there in America, a school teacher, his name was Irv Gordon, and Irv had bought a P1800 new and drove it about 120 mile to school. He was every day being a school teacher. And clocked up an incredible amount of miles over the years. As a matter of fact, I think just before Irv passed away, he was at the 3 million mile mark. So Irv came and spoke at the Volvo Car Club in Sydney some years ago, and some of the interesting questions and answers that come up, they asked Irv, well, what did you do to make the engine last so long? Because on the first rebuild, it did something like 800,000 miles and only had another one once after that. And his reply was he simply followed the manufacturer's handbook. 5,000 mile, I think it was, from memory. Oil change intervals, ordinary mineral oil, same oil in the gearbox and the engine. He talked about driving technique. He attributed to part of the long life of the car was the way he was taught to drive by his father. Irv's father made him drive with a glass of water on the dash, and he was to brake and accelerate and turn without spilling any water out of the glass. Easy on the transmission, easy on the brakes, slow heating up of the engine, slow cooling down. All adds to long life.
I know what the name of this car is.
You'll never guess.
It's Grace Kelly.
It is Grace Kelly, because she named it Grace Kelly because Grace Kelly was a very sophisticated lady from the 60s.
She
Who
was.
had lovely lines, beautiful road manners.
I tell you what it doesn't have, and that's a lot of lateral support in the seat. You feel like you're perched on the convex shaped seat, and every time you go around a corner I sort of roll out of it.
Yes,
There's nothing at all on the sides.
they're not huggers, are they?
It must have been reupholstered.
It has been reupholstered, but it was original. It's reupholstered with original Volvo upholstery. You buy it as a kit from Volvo still today. Every part on the car is available. That's a great thing with Volvos. That not like some other cars where you can't buy parts once they're a few years old.
Tell me about it. And I have no doubt it's retained its value.
Yeah,
So,
they've actually gone up quite a bit of value, and
what would you think it's worth now?
probably in the $90,000 to $100,000 mark.
Ooh,
Somewhere around about that. So instead of buying an old one and spending all the time doing it up,
yeah.
I've bought one already done and then spend all the time enjoying it.
And you do drive it too. You drive all your cars.
I drive all my cars, yeah. Most weekends.
Now these cars are not long. It's only 4.4 metres. It's quite narrow. It's low, as we can see.
It's extremely light though.
Less than 1,200 kilos.
They are.
And so you only need 130 horsepower to give yourself some good performance.
Low, not much, no wind drag.
Yep.
It's
And it
quite
is one.
cosy, isn't it, in here for us?
Yes. That was a little bit creepy.
Moving right along. Back out of fifth. back to fourth.
You were still in fifth.
Yep, just cruising along.
There's an awful lot of bright work. Bit of chrome and brushed aluminium. Even the seatbelt buckles are really sexy.
And the black on the chrome.
Yeah, the door winder.
Sorry.
That looks like an expensive coffee machine, that door handle. For a small car, it's very open and airy.
Yeah.
The vision is fantastic.
Great to stack your picnic basket on the back seat there or something or other for the day out.
The boot's big.
Quite a big boot, yeah.
The engine bay is gorgeous to look at with that motor.
Very pretty.
They never produced a convertible version, did they?
No, they didn't, no. Yes.
But they did produce a sort of a station wagon.
Oh, the station wagon.
Yeah.
Yeah, I didn't particularly like the look of the
Didn't you?
station wagon, but
A lot of people didn't, because in Germany they call it the Schneewittensarg, which means Snow White's coffin.
right. It did look like a little miniature hearse.
Yeah. So yeah.
But that's a bit of a cult following, though, the station wagon owners. They're their separate group.
Oh, yeah.
These are quite a pretty shaped car, but not a pretty shape in the station,
In a station wagon, okay.
No.
A little bit noisy,
Little bit noisy,
but hey, this is Grace.
graceful.
Grace is beautiful.
Grace, yep,
Look at her lovely Tiffany blue instruments there.
beautiful. Nice rolling hills down here, Stuart.
Yeah, it's a beautiful road.
Yeah.
Now it's slightly hotted up, isn't it, with the slightly larger SU carbs and the bigger cam.
The bigger cam, yes.
So it's not a 115 mile an hour car, it's a 130 mile an hour car.
And the good old generator has been replaced with an alternator.
Okay.
It's had power steering fitted to it.
Oh, really? Electric power steering?
Electric power steering, yeah.
Retrofit.
Retrofit, yeah.
Okay, so sensible stuff.
Sensible stuff to make it, so that you can take it on a long distance drive and really enjoy it.
Yep.
It's very good on fuel. It sits on the road well, doesn't it, for that? You enjoying that, Stu?
I am.
Okay, we better slow down. We've got to turn
There's a
off
corner.
here.
How are the brakes?
Brakes are fantastic. Look, boosted discs to the front. We didn't do our overdrive change down.
Turn off the overdrive. The overdrive only works on fourth gear. Off we go. We've got a bit of afternoon sun again. How good are the roads around your place, mate?
It's beautiful down here, isn't it?
Yeah. Lovely place to come and drive. So where does it fit? Back in 1961, Volvo wanted to create a sleek coupe for the European and US markets, but they promoted this not as a sports car, but as a touring car. And despite the fact it was only ever a hardtop, I think many competitors would have been convertible sports cars. As the predecessor P1800 had been a total flop, some management were very lukewarm on the whole idea. So it was a bit of a skunkworks project, originally drawn in the Italian Ghia studios by Pietro Frua and Pelle Petterson. Over the 13 years of production, Volvo sold 39,000 coupes, 8,000 sports estates, the hearse to you and me, but never a convertible version. Competitor coupes in this price range would have been the Carmen Ghia, maybe the gorgeous Alfa Romeo 105 series coupes, the ageing Porsche 356C, and the soon-to-be-released 911, maybe the Triumph TR4. But Volvo also did want to target the USA, and maybe they thought the second-generation Corvette Stingray was the competitor, although the motors in those cars were so ridiculously big they probably appealed to a completely different audience. Cars like the Mercedes 300 SL, Aston Martin DB4 and E-Type were competitors, but more expensive, so not really competitors. Mind you, if you'd bought one of those, you'd be sitting pretty now. All of those are worth a fortune. A DB4 over $1 million now. So maybe the Volvo is a bargain. Go and get one. Well, thank you for that review of this amazing P1800S Volvo. Who'd have thought Volvos could be so sporty?
So sexy.
Like, I was going to say like us, but that just doesn't work,
Yeah, I
does
think
it?
it suits us, Stuart.
Yeah?
Yeah, no, whatever.
As Mike and I discussed, this car is most similar to the MGB, which arrived in 1963, or the coupe version, the MGB GT, which arrived in 65. But having owned an MGB, I can tell you this is a much better car, particularly the chassis, which doesn't squirm and twist. I don't think you'll find many MGBs with 3 million miles on them either. So there you are. That's the Volvo P1800S. What a delight it was. And what a delight you are for watching the channel. Don't forget to subscribe, like, leave a comment and do all the good things. Look forward to seeing you next time. Cheerio. It's about 4 hours from my home down here, a bit over. And,
Most people only take 3.5, but you know, excuse, like,
don't bother.
probably take him longer when he's got his electric car because he'll have to stop and charge it. And there'll be people in the way.
It'll be a 2-day trip.
It'll be a 2-day trip,
Yeah,
yeah.
'cause-
The queue will be at the charging station, and then it won't
and one will
work.
be out of order, and there'll be a dual cab ute parked at the other one.
That's
and,
correct, yeah. Whereas if you've just had a good old